The grand hall of stars was so huge that its ceiling disappeared into darkness. Blue fire torches floated in the air, and the floor looked like polished silver. Thousands of alien nobles filled the hall, dressed in glowing robes and crystal armor. Every eye shined with excitement. Today was the royal ceremony of choosing. It happened only once every generation. At the far right of the hall, behind shimmering energy bars, stood a group of humans, thin, tired, and dressed in plain gray clothing. They were not guests. They were not citizens. They were considered pets within the Valerian Empire. Among them stood Daniel Ward, a human engineer from Earth who had been captured during an exploration mission. He kept his head low, trying not to draw attention. He had learned that the more invisible he stayed, the safer he was. Daniel was intelligent, but here that meant nothing. In the Empire, humans had no rights. Today he simply hoped no one would notice him. The hall suddenly fell silent as giant silver doors opened. Everyone rose to their feet. The royal guards marched in with perfect precision, their armor shining like stars. Behind them came the emperor, tall, armored, and carrying the cold pride of a ruler who feared nothing. Then she entered. Princess Arya Valoris, the heir to the empire. She was young, around 19 in human years, with silver skin that shimmered softly. Her eyes glowed like tiny galaxies, and her long hair floated gently as if underwater. She walked with confidence so powerful that the entire hall seemed to breathe with her steps. This was her day. According to ancient Valerian tradition, the princess must choose a royal father figure, a mentor who would guide her destiny, teach her values, and shape her future rule. The chosen one would hold immense influence and become one of the most important people in the empire. The nobles expected her to choose a legendary general, a science master, or a respected elder. Choosing anyone else would be unthinkable. Daniel watched quietly, hidden behind other humans. He had no interest in the ceremony. He only wanted to survive another day. The emperor raised his hand. Let the choosing begin. A hush spread through the hall. The princess stepped forward. She did not smile. Her eyes scanned the crowd slowly, searching, judging. Every noble straightened, hoping, pleading, to be selected. But her gaze kept moving. It passed over the generals. It passed over the wise elders. It passed over the royal council. Then her eyes shifted to the side of the hall, toward the humans. Soft whispers spread like fire. She's looking at the pets. Impossible. She must be curious, nothing more. Daniel felt a heavy weight in his chest as her glowing eyes moved closer and closer to his direction. He looked away quickly, hoping she would ignore him. But she didn't. Her footsteps echoed. With each step, nobles grew more confused. Guards exchanged nervous glances. Even the emperor looked uncertain. The princess stopped in front of the human's enclosure. She stared at Daniel. Her eyes held no cruelty, no fear, only certainty. Daniel swallowed hard. He didn't move. He didn't breathe. He knew that any mistake in front of royalty could cost him his life. But then she lifted her arm. She pointed directly at him. Not at the humans beside him. Not at the group. At him. Only him. The hall froze. Gasps echoed through the air like thunder. The princess spoke, her voice soft but sharp enough to cut stone. You, she said. The human. Step forward. Daniel felt every human beside him withdraw, leaving a small path. His legs trembled. He did not understand what was happening, but he stepped forward anyway. Refusing a royal command was impossible. The princess looked at him like she already knew him, like she had been searching for him. She turned toward the entire hall and raised her voice. I have made my choice. Every noble leaned forward. Every general held his breath. The emperor frowned, already sensing danger. And then she spoke the words that shattered the hall. This human will be my royal father. Silence. The deepest silence Daniel had ever heard. And then, chaos. Nobles yelled in outrage. Guards drew weapons. Some shouted that she had broken tradition. Others demanded the human be removed immediately. He is not even a citizen. Humans are pets. Slaves. This is madness. But the princess faced them calmly, her chin lifted. By ancient law, she said, the heir may choose anyone without restriction. The emperor stepped forward, shaking with anger. A human is not an acceptable choice. You insult the throne. Princess Arya stared at him with defiance that no one had ever dared show the emperor. I have chosen, she repeated. And the law stands. Daniel's heartbeat pounded in his ears. He did not understand why she chose him. He did not know what this meant. But he could feel every alien's hatred burning into his skin. He was no longer invisible. He was now the most controversial figure in the entire empire. Guards surrounded him, but instead of dragging him away, they escorted him toward the princess. As Daniel stepped out of the human enclosure, he felt the world shift beneath his feet. Everything he knew about survival in the empire was now useless. His life had just changed forever, and not in a way he could escape. The princess looked at him with quiet certainty. "You will come with me," she said. Daniel nodded slowly, unable to speak. And in that moment he understood one terrifying truth. Whatever fate awaited him, there was no turning back now. Daniel walked behind the princess in silence as the guards led them out of the grand hall. His legs felt weak. His breath came shallow. Every step felt like he was walking toward a future he did not understand. The moment they left the hall, nobles continued shouting behind them. The heavy doors closed, but the echoes of anger still followed. Two guards walked beside Daniel, watching him closely, hands on their energy blades. They were ready to strike if he made a single wrong move. But Daniel's mind was too shaken to even think about escaping. The princess walked calmly, her silver hair floating behind her like a stream of light. She did not speak until they reached a long crystal corridor that opened into a private chamber. When the doors shut, she turned toward him. "You are safe here," she said softly. Daniel stared at her, confused. "Safe? Princess, choosing me puts you in danger. I don't understand why you did it." She tilted her head slightly, studying him like he was a puzzle only she could see the full shape of. "You will sit," she said. He obeyed, lowering himself onto a seat shaped like a glowing stone. The chamber around them shimmered with shifting colors. Everything looked beautiful and dangerous. The princess sat across from him. "My people think humans are weak," she said. "But I have seen something different." Daniel frowned. "You have seen humans before?" "In my visions." Daniel blinked. "Visions?" The princess nodded. Her eyes glowed brighter, like galaxies spinning faster. "For years I have had dreams," she explained. "Visions of the coming war. A war that will destroy the empire unless someone guides me. A guide who is calm, brave, and carries a heart made for protection." Daniel laughed nervously. "Princess, I'm an engineer. I fix machines, I don't guide empires." She leaned closer. "In every vision," she whispered, "a human stood beside me. A human with your face." Daniel froze. His hands trembled. "That must be a mistake," he said. "There are no mistakes," she replied. Daniel looked away, struggling to process her words. He had always been a logical man. He believed in science, not prophecy. But the princess spoke with a certainty that felt unbreakable. She continued, "When I saw you today, everything aligned. I knew you were the one I have been waiting for." Daniel took a slow breath. Even if you believe that, why choose me as your royal father? Why not make me an advisor? Or a guard?" Her expression hardened slightly. "Because the title of royal father gives you the highest protection," she said. "No one may harm you. No noble may touch you. Only the emperor can challenge the choice, and the ancient law binds him." Daniel stared at her. She had not chosen him for sentiment. She had chosen him for his survival. "And you did all this, for me?" he asked quietly. "For the future," she responded. "And for the empire I will rule." Before Daniel could reply, the doors opened and an angry voice filled the chamber. It was the emperor. He walked in, armored and furious, with his council behind him. Guards surrounded the room instantly. Daniel stood, heart pounding. The emperor glared at him like he was an insect. "Human," he said coldly, "do you know what you have caused? You bring chaos into the throne room. You insult our traditions." Daniel said nothing. He knew any wrong word would end him. Princess Arya stood between the emperor and Daniel. "Father, enough," she said. "I have chosen. You Zaslav. I chose my royal father." The room tensed. Council members whispered, horrified. No one had ever spoken to the emperor like that. "Arya, you risk destruction of the throne," he warned. "The nobles will rebel. The generals will question your bloodline." She held her ground. "Let them question," she said. "The law stands. And my choice is final." The emperor stared at her in disbelief. Then slowly he looked at Daniel. "You are a problem," he said. "And problems must be controlled." He motioned to the guards. "Take him to the preparation wing. He is to be made presentable. If he tries to escape, kill him." Daniel felt a cold shock run down his spine. But the princess raised her hand. "No. He will stay with me." The emperor clenched his jaw. "Are you trying to start a war?" "I am preventing one," she said. Their eyes locked like two storms colliding. Finally the emperor turned away. "Very well," he said. "Your choice stands, for now." He left the room with the council, leaving behind a heavy silence. Daniel exhaled shakily. "Princess, I don't think your people will accept me." "They will learn," she replied. "And if they don't?" "Then they will fear me," she said quietly. Her voice held no anger, no arrogance, only quiet truth. Daniel suddenly realized that beneath her calm expression lived a power no one had seen yet, a power that could destroy anyone who threatened her. He also understood something else. If he stayed by her side, he would not only face enemies. He would become a shield between her and the entire empire. She stood and walked toward a balcony overlooking the luminous city. "You will begin your training tomorrow," she said. "You must learn how the empire works. You must learn our laws. And I must learn from you." Daniel stepped forward hesitantly. "Learn what?" She looked at him with eyes full of light. "Humanity," she said. "I must learn your heart." Daniel felt a strange emotion rise inside him. Fear mixed with responsibility. Confusion mixed with purpose. Perhaps he wasn't chosen by accident. Perhaps he was chosen because the galaxy was about to change, and someone needed to stand beside the princess when it did. And for the first time since his capture, Daniel wondered, maybe he had a role to play after all. Daniel began his new life in the palace the next morning. Servants whispered as he walked past them. Guards stared with cold suspicion. Nobles pretended he did not exist, but their eyes followed him like he was a threat. The empire had millions of citizens, thousands of noble families, and countless soldiers. Yet somehow, the most discussed person in all of Valoria was a human engineer. Every hallway Daniel walked through felt unsafe. Every corner felt like a trap. But Princess Arya stayed close, guiding him through the palace, explaining customs and rules in her calm, steady voice. "Do not bow first," she said while walking beside him. "A royal father bows to no one." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Even the emperor?" She smiled faintly. "Especially the emperor. It is a symbolic balance of power." Daniel shook his head. "Your empire is complicated. It is ancient," she said, "and stubborn." As the day passed, Daniel began to understand more. The palace was not a place of peace. It was a place of quiet wars, political games, secret alliances, and hidden hatred. Loyalty was rare. Jealousy was common. And Daniel's presence had exploded everything. Whenever Arya spoke to him, nobles glared. Whenever he asked a question, servants froze, unsure if answering him was dangerous. Many wanted him gone. Some wanted him dead. But the princess watched everything. She noticed every whisper, every glare, every attempt to intimidate Daniel. And she grew colder. By the afternoon, she was giving orders with sharper authority. By evening, she demanded full reports of every guard patrolling her wing. Daniel realized something. She was preparing for someone to attack them. That night, Daniel sat in the quiet of his new chamber, a room that felt far too luxurious for someone who yesterday lived in a cage. The windows glowed with alien light, and soft blue energy rippled along the walls. He couldn't sleep. He kept hearing the nobles shouting in the hall. He kept remembering the emperor's threat. He kept seeing the princess's eyes when she said humans will be feared. Suddenly the door chimed. When it opened, Princess Arya stepped inside. "You are awake," she said softly. Daniel nodded. "It's hard to sleep when half the empire wants you dead." Arya walked to the center of the room. Her long silver gown shimmered with starlight. "Do you fear them?" she asked. Daniel hesitated. "I fear what they will do to you." Her eyes softened. "That is why you were chosen," she said. "Because you are human." Daniel frowned. "That doesn't make me strong." "No," she said, "it makes you different. You think with heart first. My people do not understand that. But in the visions, the one who saved me was not the strongest warrior. He was the one who cared." Daniel didn't know what to say. Before he could speak, the lights in the room flickered. A cold warning flashed across the ceiling. Unauthorized presence detected. Arya's expression hardened instantly. "Stay behind me," she whispered. The energy lights dimmed, shadows stretched across the walls, and for a moment Daniel thought his eyes were playing tricks. But then he saw them. 3 dark figures sliding silently across the floor. Their armor was black, absorbing light. Their blades glowed blue. Their movements were too smooth, too quiet. Assassins. Daniel stepped back as Arya moved forward, placing herself between him and danger. One of the assassins whispered, "Remove the human. Restore the throne's purity." Daniel felt his heart hammer in his chest. He had never been in a fight like this. He had no weapon, no training. But when one assassin lunged toward Arya, Daniel reacted without thinking. He threw himself between them. The blade slashed across his shoulder. Pain exploded like fire and he fell to the floor. The princess's scream tore through the room. In a second the air vibrated with psychic power. A shockwave burst from Arya like a storm. The assassins were thrown across the room, crashing into the walls with bone-shattering force. Daniel lay on the floor, gasping, blood dripping down his arm. Arya rushed to him, kneeling beside him, her eyes glowing with fury and fear. "Daniel," she cried. "Why did you do that? You could have died." Daniel winced. "So could you." She stared at him, stunned. Guards burst into the room, weapons raised, but froze when they saw the scene. Assassins unconscious, walls cracked, and the princess holding a bleeding human. "Secure the wing," she ordered with absolute authority. "And find who sent them." As guards dragged the assassins away, Arya pressed her hand gently against Daniel's wound. Her touch glowed with soft light. "You protected me," she whispered. Daniel smiled weakly. "I promised myself I would." Her voice shook. "And I promise you this. I will burn anyone who tries to harm you." Daniel stared into her glowing eyes and felt something shift inside him. Not romance. Not fear. Something deeper. A bond formed through danger. He realized something important. He was not just protecting her. She was fighting for him too. And the entire empire would soon learn what that meant. The assassination attempt spread through the palace like wildfire. By sunrise, every noble family had heard the news. 3 assassins entered the princess's wing, and a human stopped them. Some called Daniel lucky. Some called him dangerous. Others whispered that he must be eliminated before he corrupted the royal heir. The palace no longer felt alive with quiet politics. It felt like a storm gathering behind every door. Princess Arya moved with sharper purpose. She ordered double guards in every hallway. She demanded full security sweeps. She interrogated military advisors and council members with cold precision. Daniel watched her closely. Her calm expression never broke, but he could feel the pressure crushing her shoulders. She was fighting against her own empire, an empire that believed humans were beneath animals. Daniel's wound from the night attack still ached, wrapped in glowing bandages that pulsed with alien medicine. But he refused to rest. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the blade coming toward Arya. He saw the assassins' faces. He heard their words. "Restore the throne's purity." It made his blood boil. Later that day, Arya summoned Daniel to the High Observatory, a tall tower overlooking the vast capital city. From above, Valoria looked peaceful, glowing with floating lights and crystal towers. But the beauty felt like a lie. Arya stood by the window, her silver gown flowing like mist. "There will be more attacks," she said without turning. "The nobles are frightened. Fear turns them violent." Daniel stepped beside her. "They're scared of a human? I'm just one man." "No," she said, "they fear what you represent. If I can choose you, I can choose a future where humans are equal." Daniel stared at her. "Is that really what you want?" She finally looked at him, her glowing eyes steady. "Yes. You show me things my people forgot. Compassion. Empathy. Humanity." Daniel swallowed hard. "If that's the future you want, I'll help you." Her expression softened. "There is something else you must know." Before she could continue, the observatory doors burst open. A palace guard rushed in, face pale with fear. "Princess, the southern gate, rebels have attacked. They're breaking through the shield wall." Arya's eyes widened. "Which faction?" "The Purity Legion," the guard said. "They intend to eliminate you and blame the humans." Daniel felt cold. "How many attackers?" "Hundreds," the guard whispered. "And they brought war machines." Arya moved instantly. "Activate palace defense protocol. Lock down all royal wings." Daniel followed her as she ran through the halls, her gown sweeping behind her like silver fire. The palace shook with distant explosions. Screens flickered with alarms. "Breach detected, southern gate compromised. War machines approaching. All personnel to defensive positions." Daniel felt his fear rise, but so did something else. Resolve. Arya reached the command chamber, a glowing circle filled with hovering screens, maps, and trembling officers. "Report," she demanded. "Princess," a general said nervously, "the rebels have deployed plasma cannons. The shield will fall in minutes." "Then reinforce it," she said. "We can't," the general whispered. "They disabled our energy cores." Daniel stepped forward. "Show me the map." The generals looked confused, but Arya nodded. Do as he says. A holographic map appeared, showing the palace defenses. Daniel studied it quickly. I can reroute the shield through the outer conduits, he said. But it must be done manually. In the open. That's a suicide run, a guard said. Daniel looked at Arya. Do you trust me? She did not hesitate. Yes. The room went silent. Daniel turned toward the exit. Then I'll do it. Arya grabbed his arm. Daniel, if you go out there you could die. He smiled weakly. Last night you said you would burn anyone who tried to hurt me. Today, let me return the favor. For a moment she didn't speak. Her eyes held a flicker. Fear, worry, something deeper. Then she nodded. Daniel sprinted through the palace corridors with 2 guards guiding him. The air shook with explosions. The sky outside glowed red from plasma fire. When they reached the outer wall, Daniel climbed onto the energy platform. The conduits hummed with raw power. The guards covered him as rebel soldiers fired from below. Daniel worked fast, fingers moving across alien circuits. Sparks flew. Energy surged. His wound throbbed painfully, but he kept going. Shield failure in 10 seconds, a guard shouted. Daniel gritted his teeth. Not today. He pulled a final crystal switch. The shield roared back to life, glowing bright blue over the palace. Inside the command chamber, officers cheered. The shield is back. He did it. Arya closed her eyes in relief, but another alarm sounded. Rebel forces breaching the main gate. Arya froze. Daniel wasn't safe yet. Daniel and the guards rushed back inside just as the main doors shook violently. The rebels had reached the inner palace. Their armored warriors marched forward with energy blades, chanting, "Purity for the throne. Destroy the human." The guards braced for battle, but Daniel stepped forward, placing himself in front of the princess. "You stand behind me," he whispered. Arya's breath caught. "Daniel." He lifted a fallen spear. It trembled in his hands, but he held it firmly. "I won't let them touch you." The great doors cracked open. The rebels stormed in. A single human. Against an alien army. Daniel didn't move. His stance did not break. His voice did not shake. And in that moment, Princess Arya realized the visions were true. The future of the Empire began with a human standing his ground. The main palace gates exploded inward. Smoke filled the hall as the rebel soldiers stormed in, dozens of armored fighters, their blades glowing with lethal blue fire. They expected fear. They expected surrender. They expected the princess hiding behind walls. What they did not expect was a human standing in front of her. Daniel held the spear tightly, his injured shoulder burning with pain. He looked small against the towering alien warriors, but he did not step back. Not even an inch. A rebel commander pointed at him and laughed. "Move, human. We're here for the princess." Daniel tightened his grip. "You'll have to go through me." The rebels laughed harder. One stepped forward. "How brave. How stupid." Daniel raised the spear. His hands trembled, but his eyes remained steady. He had no advanced training. No superhuman strength. Just determination strong enough to hold back an empire. The rebels charged. But before the first blade struck Daniel, a blinding wave of silver energy erupted behind him. Princess Arya stepped forward, eyes blazing like stars exploding. Enough. The rebels froze as a shimmering psychic force crackled around her. Her hair floated upward, glowing like living fire. The air shook with her power. And then, just like the assassins before, the rebels were lifted off the ground, trapped in invisible chains. "Release them," their commander yelled, struggling. She stared at them coldly. "You came into my home. You attacked my family." Her voice trembled with fury. "You tried to kill my father." Daniel blinked. "Father." She had said it in front of everyone. Arya clenched her fists and the psychic chains tightened. The rebels cried out in pain. Daniel stepped forward, placing a hand on her arm. "Arya," he whispered. "Stop. You're stronger than them. You don't need to kill them." Her breath hitched. For a moment, her rage softened. Her hands lowered slowly. The rebels collapsed to the floor, unconscious but alive. Arya turned to Daniel, her glowing eyes dimming with emotion. "You could have died," she whispered. "Why do you always stand in front of danger?" Daniel smiled faintly. "Because that's what fathers do." For the first time she truly smiled. Not a royal smile. Not a forced one. A real one. Before they could speak again, the doors burst open. The Emperor strode inside with his guards. His eyes swept the room, rebels defeated, palace intact, his daughter unharmed. And Daniel standing right beside her. The Emperor stopped. Silence filled the hall. Finally he spoke. You saved her. Daniel nodded. She saved me first. The Emperor looked at Arya. She stepped forward proudly, chin lifted. Father, she said, this man protected me with his life. Twice. He restored the palace shield. He fought rebels alone. He did what your generals could not. Her voice echoed with royal authority. And I will not let this empire treat him as less than he is. The Emperor studied Daniel. For the first time, his eyes held something other than anger. Respect. He raised his voice so the entire hall could hear. Daniel, Ward of Earth, he declared, you are hereby recognized as the royal father of the air. You will have protection, authority, and honor equal to any noble in this empire. Gasps echoed across the hall. Daniel stood frozen. He had been a prisoner days ago. Now he was standing beside the most powerful family in the galaxy. The Emperor continued, you saved my daughter. And for that you have my gratitude. Arya stepped closer to Daniel, her shoulder gently brushing his. From today, she said softly, you will guide me. Teach me everything about humanity. Daniel smiled. Only if you teach me how to survive this empire. She laughed quietly. I will. Guards dragged the unconscious rebels away. Medical drones rushed in to treat the wounded. Council members bowed, not to Arya, not to the Emperor, but to Daniel. The palace felt different now. Not safe. Not peaceful. But changed. After the chaos, Arya and Daniel walked to the balcony overlooking the city. The evening sky glowed purple and gold. Below, the capital shimmered with floating lights. Arya rested her hands on the railing. I saw this future, she whispered. I saw darkness, and a human standing beside me. Daniel leaned on the railing next to her. I didn't see any of this coming. You were not chosen by accident, she said. Daniel breathed deeply. I'm still just a man. No, she said softly, you are the man who stood between me and an army. You are the man who changed the fate of an empire. Daniel looked at her. She wasn't a child claiming him. She wasn't a stranger choosing randomly. She was a leader who saw something in him long before he believed in himself. She turned toward him, soft, honest, certain. You gave me something no one else ever has, she whispered. Daniel frowned gently. What did I give you? A heart, she said. You taught me how to feel. He swallowed. And you gave me something too. She tilted her head. What? A family. Arya's eyes warmed, glowing softly with emotion. They stood side by side, watching the endless city of Valoria. A human engineer and an alien princess. A father and a daughter not by blood, but by fate, courage, and choice. And together they would reshape the entire galaxy.